Hello, everyone.
Wow.
Thank you, Bassam. So, hello everybody. I think that's the last session of first day of the World Congress of OISTAT. This session is dedicated to talk about SENA, the Southern Europe and Northern Africa 2020-2022 online forum and festival, and the plans for the next SENA editions. SENA started being planned only 2 years ago during PQ 2019 and became an important OISTAT project. SENA 2020 was expected to be held in Cairo by the Egypt OISTAT Center. Plans changed from a live event to an online forced by the pandemic, but we had a good outcome as it was more accessible for participants to collaborate on shaping SENA project in this initial phase. SENA 2020 online forum will last 5 days, presenting 20 sessions, 200 participants from 37 countries. And we are looking forward for SENA next edition 2022 and its continuity every 2 years after that, fingers crossed. Plans for 2022 will be addressed here. Today, we will also talk about some relevant topics that emerged from SENA first edition, like heritage, architecture, and alternative theatre. I would like to welcome the speakers for this session, Hazem Shebel and Bassam Yacoub from Egypt, Amin Boudrika and Tariq Rib from Morocco, Umberto Ginino from Italy, and Rob Eastman-Muller from United States. I will pass to Hazem and Umberto to talk about SENA 2020 and the initial plans and its development. So, Hazem, welcome.
Hi, everyone. As you know, it's my concern about it's to contact people from mainly from Arab world with another people from the world and vice versa. And the idea of SENA start when I tried to present the Egyptian file to host World Stage Design 2021, but it was not complete as a good file yet. So the idea came to have something smaller than World Stage Design, regional. So first time I started to speak with Bert, it was in Fort Lauderdale in USITT in March 2018, and started to discuss. And after that, we met again in Prague 2019. Also have a side meetings between me, Amin, Jean-Guy Luca from France, Jean-José from Spain, Umberto from Italy, and others, and Marina, Bert. So it was a good group start in Prague. Continue these meetings, and until maybe the final one for me to attend it as a EC member in Oslo, in Norway, when we start to be SENA, so Southern Europe and Northern African scenographer. Suppose this will be first edition, suppose it will be in October 2019, but for COVID, it transformed to be online conference. We hope that, SENA is a forum. So it means there is a gallery, there is a presentation, there is a meeting, there is a visiting to the theater, meetings with national designers in the country, national student. So it's many events together in one under the forum. Now we hope that SENA will be each 2 years. Now we are planning to have it in Morocco, 2022, and later maybe can go to Europe, to Africa again. So it will be like that. So I hope Amin I will speak, but Amin can present what he think for the next year.
Okay.
Thank you. Before passing to you, can I ask Umberto a little bit, because he was part of this preparation and he's here with us, and from his perspective, because we are having this event that is bringing together the southern of Europe and northern Africa. I always like hearing from both borders. So Umberto, can you tell us a little bit about the meetings, the preparation, and the initial thoughts for this project? Please.
Yes, thank you very much. Sorry for my bad English, but
excellent.
I remember with Felicity in Cardiff, Hazem with José in the bar, and José speak, oh, wonderful. In the table, it's Mediterranean representative, Italian, Spanish, and Egyptian. Oh, it's good, it's good. And in the night, after the day, Hazem in the bar for Cardiff for 2010 festival Oistat in Cardiff, return with the program. In the night, Hazem have think all festival, and in coffee, Umberto, you say, okay, the Mediterranean, this is a very good idea, and started with the idea. Okay, Hazem, resident in Joked, no Hazem, with José, and speak after with Jean-Louis, Bert, and in Prague, Hazem return with a very, very good program, and in Alta Studio, very hot studio, no? You remember Hazem, and Amin, Tariq, Marina, Bert, it's very, very hot. It's very concluded idea, and very started for in presence in Cairo or Alexandria, very good. But the COVID, it's a problem, and it's all online. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Bert, and all Oistat organization for SENA Forum online. For me, this is a beautiful idea. With Hazem.
Yeah. Thank you, Alberto. You remember me with good days. I want to say something very important. It's just if just the idea starts from us, but really the person who carry all the missions and make SENA be exist is Abby Cohen. Abby, yes, she make it exist, and she did the 99% of the work. And also, I want to thank the all EC. They work a lot to shape it and plan it. Many discussion between us about how the limit and as a country and the events and things. So thank you for everyone, and we hope it will be continue in the future.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
can I say one thing quickly? Is that thank you, Hazim, for the nice words, but also I need to phrase that it is important because when the event, when the idea of the project started, we had 4 commissions committed with bringing activities to Cairo to have to host some committee programs and commission programs. There was the Performance Design Commission, Space Commission, Sound, and Technology. And as much as the development of the project became online and make possible and other commissions to join, was fascinated to see how the other commissions of costume, space, lighting, and education, they research as well, they came together to make a most of the program and to make a more substantial program for the online project. So I want to thank you, all of you, for your collaboration and the important, amazing work everybody did. Okay, so can I pass to Amin to tell us for the next plans of SENA in 2022? Everybody might be out.
Hello, everybody. So with Tariq, with you, all of you, we make the meeting the last time, and we're talking about if we can make the SENA and the ESA meeting. Also, it was planned also in January, but it's not possible. So we take, all of us, the decision to make it both. So with Tariq, we did like a planning of the how to do this. The SENA in Morocco for October 2022. It's the end of the October, and it was like make the exhibition, but also it's like we call it the pépinière. It's like pépinière. We can say this in English. It's like a master classes, but we call it like this. It's master classes and making like a. We plan it for example. It will be in 6 days. The first day will people arrive. The second day it's the opening ceremony, and after we make the people start visiting the exhibition, and after maybe the ESA meeting. And after the lunch, and after the master class in the afternoon, and after the master classes, we can make like a meeting for the Moroccan professional scenographers, and in the evening, and we want to make like défilé de costume, and after a dinner. This is for the first day. For the second day, it's we make the same thing. It's the master classes and the conferences about scenography in North Africa, and maybe example of Morocco. And in the evening, it's a performance, theater performance, and a party in the night, in the evening. The third day, it's we keep going with the exhibition, conferences, and make another performance, theater performance, and that's all. And after the fourth day, it's like making a visiting the monuments, the architecture, the theaters in not in Morocco, but one of the cities that they have great theater, like in Casablanca or Tangier or Rabat. For example, in Casablanca, there is the biggest. I talk about this later, but there is the biggest theater now in Africa. So we can visit this, or maybe visit the theater of the Hadid in Rabat, one of the last projects of the Hadid. So it can be, this is the last day is a visiting and meeting the people, and the sixth, the end, and everybody. If you can stay in Morocco if you want, you are welcome, of course, or you go back to your countries.
Thank you, Amin.
Yes.
Is anyone would like to raise any questions for Amin or for Hassan at this point?
Yes, I have to add something before to the elections. We had the elections in the 8th September, and now we know the name of the new minister. So with Tariq, we will contact him as soon as possible. He will take his make the passation. I'll say in English. They change it the next week, and we will wait for months or something like this to send a letter to meet him and to present him this project also.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have the dates already, or you mentioned end of October, but you have, is it fixed or this is still flexible, open for discussion?
It's now it's we can take decision, all of us. It's the last week of October. I think it's a good idea, or the beginning of November, because you know it's September. It's the beginning of the year, so we have to wait. People can, and everything it's okay after the 15th October. I think the last of the end of the October or the beginning of November, it can be a good date.
Okay.
But we can
And-
just decision.
And of
What
course-
about the PowerPoint? The PowerPoint file.
The PowerPoint
Your
file
PowerPoint.
about architecture, but if I will do it
Yeah.
later.
لا, leave it to Abby now. Okay.
Yeah, no, I
thank
just
you.
wanted to bring some questions, and please, for people that is in the room, please feel free to bring some questions, because there was some few applications made for the 2020 SENA in Cairo, and those applications will be still valid for 2022 for the exhibition, for entry the exhibition. And we just need to ask if the people who apply will be interested in updating the content, and there will be talking one-to-one as each case. I think the program is a draft, as Amin presented as a draft, and always, as we do through OISTAT, it's good to count on the collaboration from the commissions, who possibly will find interesting hosting a meeting or some activities in SENA 2022. Do you think that will be possible, to absorb commissions, proposals and ideas to the program?
Yeah, of course. We are open for everything. We have just to see how we manage it in the program. Of course, and we talk about also making a team for preparing the SENA 2022. We talk about this the last time, and we are, yes, of course.
Yeah, that's an important thing to raise here, is that we've been having several meetings to prepare this session today, and that's something we discussed, and we would like to open to you all who would like to make part of the team to prepare SENA 2022. Please you can contact me or me directly, and you're very welcome to take the participation on that. I remember Fiona sent me an email a time ago wishing to carry on collaborating from 2020 to 2022. Are you still there, Fiona? Cool. So please feel free to manifest your interest to collaborate. We know that's going to clash and somehow with the World State Design that happens in August, but we believe there are two different projects that will be covering different areas, and of course we looking for as the same as the World State Design, looking for having a blending of online and on-site activities. The same can happen with SENA for those who cannot attend but would like to follow the program. So Anat, Anat, raise the hand, please.
I think Heba Elkomi raised the hand before me.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's okay. You go ahead. It's okay.
Sorry.
I just wanted to ask, is there a subject for the exhibition, or is it for countries or for individuals? Is it like the PQ, or is it like world stage design?
Well, the nature of a SENA project is more by individuals, as far as I understand. But an open call, of course, will be written and sent to all of the members.
And there is a subject, or like a main theme for it, or it's open still?
It's not yet in place. We haven't discussed. I think the idea is to set a team to start discussing if there was a theme and how will be the rules for applications, for submissions.
Okay, thank you.
It's still being shaped. And please, next one.
I think Heba is raised her hand.
Heba?
Yeah, hello. I'm
Yeah?
just, I don't know if you already said that, but I didn't catch it. Is it just like attending? Is it online or is it in person?
I think it will be physically. It's the aim is to make something in Morocco. Yeah. But
Okay.
maybe if we can make also online for the people who cannot come, and we will see if it will be possible, because with Corona we see we can do so much things. We can make it maybe online and physically both. It can be this.
Yeah. Okay, great. So where do I find updates about that?
As we are working.
That will be sent through Oistat headquarters, and Oistat headquarters will send to them all. So as you subscribe for the sessions today for the World Congress, your email is in the mailing list, so you're going to receive. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So can we go for the, Kate, would you like to?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I was putting my hand up, and just to say, I think, yes, I'm, to have an online sort of component to it, even if it's not all, would be really helpful, partly for people who maybe couldn't afford to or couldn't get there, but also in terms of the translation again, and making it available, because of being able to do the simultaneous translation for sessions. It might also be useful to do some sessions like that. But it sounds fantastic, and please count us in. I'd love, we'd love to be involved.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Yeah, all to consider it. So can we can still, if people have more questions in the end, we can go back to the subject. So if you have some questions, we can go back to more the structure and information side. I would like to invite now Bassam to talk about, it's more like a reflection, provocation about the relevance of Oistat as a worldwide community and projects such as SENA happening, and how that brings us together. Bassam?
Hello, everyone. After thanking all Oistat members, delegates, and centers representatives, thanks to all the international theater professionals for being with us in Oistat events and meetings virtually in 2020. Today, in celebration of World Congress, I'm going to speak in a retrospective time, since today it marked almost 10 years being a member of Oistat organization in 2012, we, the Egyptian Center, ESTTC, on behalf of the Egyptian Ministry of Culture, held it for first time an OISTAT EC meeting in Cairo. At that time, I started step by step to get introduced to the organizations and the governing board, the executive committees, delegates, as well as the organization commissions and activities. Later, by years, approximately 5 years later, I got the chance to attend my first World Congress and participate for first time at the World Stage Design in Taiwan, Taipei. The previous World Stage Design, I had a little time opportunity to meet in person with the worldwide colleagues of theater makers and scenographers, which I personally felt at that time, it's a great opportunity to know more in depth about the same field colleagues of theater artists, as well as OISTAT organization. Although the busy schedule in Taiwan for all the attendees to get to know all of them in person, one by one, then later in the year of the pandemic, 2020, was the year that made everyone able to keep going with the organization's activities and the chance of knowing more in depth about the artists while they presented their work at the series of presentations, starting from the first beginning of OISTAT chat, led by Mr. Bert Ditterman, and then second one, Designers on Design, and the Education Week, and last not least, SENA 2022, 2020 and 2022. So today, after a year of that pandemic, I'd like to thank everybody. Special thank to Bert, Louis Jensen, and Hazem, and all of you. I don't want to forget anyone. The ongoing projects online is very important because I see a reconnection start to happen from last year. I think that this is very important to keep going with it. It will give us the chance to get to know each other more, to get to know the work more, to be very up to date of what's happening, that maybe before we had to wait 4 years in order to know what's going on. Thank you so much, and let's stay in contact. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you, Bassam. Yeah, I mean, that's a space we found that we can, listen to many voices. So if anyone want to say something in the end, please just feel welcome, okay? So we're going to pass next to the 3 topics we recognize as relevant that emerged from the SENA process, the project, the forum, and all the meetings we've been having. That's about heritage, architecture, and alternative theatre. Each one of the themes will be led by one of the presenters who were invited to share some thoughts and make some provocations, prepare some questions for you to collaborate with some thoughts and reflections as well. So we'll pass first to Amin, that will cover the subject of architecture. And after that will be Rob with heritage, and Bassam to talk about alternative theatre. So we have like a 15 minutes for each topic. Okay? I just watch the clock here.
Okay. As everybody know, it's theater. There is several many way to do theaters in streets, in buildings, just maybe we can convert place to do theater. But what we are interested in today is to talk about architecture, about the buildings of theaters, especially in Morocco, because I know it's a new, we are new in Oistat, and I want to represent what is the policy of architecture theaters in Morocco and the heritage, and why now we have this that much theaters in our country. So I share with you this one. So theater architecture in Morocco. So the policy of theaters buildings. In the last 20 years, Morocco starts to construct many theaters building around the country. The aim of this policy is to give each city her own theater building. Two kinds of the building, the local theaters, or what we call it, the cultural centers, les centres culturels. And the big theaters, it's the name like this, les grands théâtres. The local theaters or les centres culturels, the heritage, and there is over than 150 theaters in all the country now. So for the heritage, in the period of the Spanish and the French people in Morocco in the beginning of the 20th century, it's the first that they built the théâtre à l'italien. À l'italien, so it's like the Théâtre de Cervantes, Teatro Cervantes. It was created in 1913 in Tangier, and it was a very big theater, and it was built by the Spanish people at this time, and it was like 1,400 seats. It's still a Spanish theater, and the Spanish government with the Moroccan government, they restore it now, and this restoration will be starting. Wait, yes.
I mean, sorry interrupting. I'm not sure. Just checking if people can see your files, because for me, the Zoom just crashed. Can people see?
You see?
Yes, it works.
It works.
Yeah, sorry. So it's the problem on my end here.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And this is the Teatro Cervantes. And after there is another theater, it's the Théâtre Municipal de Casablanca. It's created in 1920, and it's like 600 seats. And this theater, it doesn't exist anymore, because after the French people go, the people in Morocco, they start to use this theater. And there is, in the beginning of the 18th century, so much young people do it like alternative and underground art in this moment. And unfortunately, in 1984, the government at this moment, they just distract the building. And after there is another one. This is another theater, is Theater of El Jadida. It still exists, and it was created in 1935, and it's 500 seats. It still exists, and it's very beautiful theater. And the architecture is of the beginning of the 20th century. It was a very, very, very good. So we now after we have our we say our first Moroccan theater after the independence. It's Théâtre Mohammed V in Rabat. It's one of the big theaters, still big theaters in Morocco. It's created in 14 March 1962. It's a public establishment, and it's more than 1,600 seats. And it's still now it's one of the theaters that they have a lot of performances in still, but not only for theater, but music opera. It was the only theaters that have this capacity to have this kind of performances in Morocco till the ending of the 20th century. And there is over than 100. The Moroccan theaters are currently experiencing significant changes at multiple levels, in particular with the theatrical infrastructures in several cities of the kingdom, like Casablanca, Oujda, Rabat, Safi, Tangier, Marrakesh, Agadir, Bni Mellal. And these centres culturels, or the small theaters or local theaters, we can take, for example, the example of La Maison de la Culture Bni Mellal, also the cultural center of Bni Mellal. It's Bni Mellal. It's a very small city in the south of Morocco, and it have her own theater, and this is very good. And Tarek, maybe he can talk more about this later because he was the director of this center. And this kind of centers who can people come to start master classes, to meet art and so much other things. This is for talking about architecture. This is a special architecture in theater of Mennouni in Meknes. It was created in 1980 and renovated in 2050, and the set is 620 sets. I find it interesting to show you this this building because the architecture, it's a special architecture, and even the seats inside the theater are colorful, and sometimes it's not good for the scene, because when you make the light on the scene, you can see the people sitting and seeing the performance. But it's interesting. Now I will talk about this politic of making big theaters in Morocco, and it starts in the beginning of 90s, but it's now it's more, we can see it more in the last 10 years. So the big theaters integrated or launched at a sustained pace during the last month in Morocco are part of the new generation of cultural establishment built in the big cities of the kingdom and aiming to make culture an essential level of human, social, and economic development. We start by the first big theater of Casablanca. So I make the plans, and they finish building this big theater, and the architect Christian de Paul-Saint-Parc. It's the biggest now, the biggest theater in Africa, and there is two main salles. There is a main theaters. There is a modular theater. It's like 1,800 seats, and the music and theater is 600 seats. But there is also so much the places to make rehearsals, to make. There is a library. There's so much things inside, the cafes and shops and library to buy books or other things. This is the big theater of Rabat. It was designed, is one of the last designs of Zaha Hadid before her death, and it's open this year, and it's 2,000 seats, and it's a very beautiful theater because it's near to the river Bourgreg. It's the river between Rabat and Saris, two cities. It's the capital of Morocco, and it takes like 5 years construction, and now it's a very good theater. It's very beautiful outside because we don't know what's happened inside yet. And this is this is also one of that's open last year. It's Le Palais des Arts et des Cultures of Tangier. It's the architecture is Naufal Bakhat, is Moroccan architecture, and it's created in 2020. And there is three theaters inside. It's the main theater, the biggest one. It's 1,040 seats, and two small theaters inside, also 200 seats. And it's very good for the north of Morocco, because they had only the small theaters, or and this one is like one of the beautiful theaters now in the north of Morocco. And the last one is the Theater Mohammed Sis Oujda. Oujda is in the east of Morocco, near the borders of Algeria, and it's another beautiful theater. It's this big one, also 1,200 seats, and it's created in 2014. Now the problem of all these theaters, the small or the cultural center of the big, or we don't know about the big now, but the small ones, is that the function, we have the building and it starts and we start working, but after 4 or 5 years, we don't replace, for example, lights. We don't do so. The functional of the theaters, it's not that good, and we need people to work inside this theater to make these places alive. Thank you. So thank you.
Yeah, it seems that's a problem for lots of places, isn't it? It's an empty shells. It's beautiful, amazing architecture buildings, but they become empty shells. So beautiful to see that. I don't think we had any idea how the theater buildings look like in Morocco. I didn't. It was very inspiring. Very good.
But sometimes the problem also with you can find a very big building, but inside the building you find a small theater. So you can do, it take more, because they sometimes they make exhibition places in the theaters, but sometimes it's nothing, just the empty places. So this is because I think there is not communication with the specialists. For example, they don't ask for scenographers to do, for example, what's happened inside. They just ask for architecture, normal architects to do this. And this is the main problem they want to do things, but they don't know how now. Till now, there is it start now, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But I think we are so proud that because the general politic of Morocco, it's making theaters, and it's good.
Cool. Thank you. Any questions for Amin? We would have a time for a couple of questions. Yes, Rob, go on.
Well, I'm curious. Seeing all these different types of theaters, what would you say is the predominant type of performance that's going up in these spaces? Is it vary from region to region or city to city, or would you say, and this kind of dovetails into what I'll talk about a little bit later, but what's going on in these theaters?
You talk about performances. Yeah,
the type of performances, the type of plays, or whatever. Is there a Moroccan flavor for sure, or is it outside influence?
There is both, but mainly there is a occidental influence, and it's weird and it's amazing at the same time. Is that the metteurs en scène, the directors? We have like 60 or 50 metteurs en scène, but each one has his own way to do performances, and that's make the theater in Morocco so rich. So we cannot talk about a movement of Morocco, but we can talk about small sensitivities. We can say this in English.
Yeah.
It's each metteur en scène have his own touch, and we call it now the new wave. in Morocco because before there is it was Taib Siddiqui. It was like the main theater man in Morocco. There is but we know these names, Rashid, we come on, Taib Al-Alaj. These names, it was one of the base of the base of the Moroccan theater. But now we can talk about a lot of new sensitivity. So yes, and there is also the thing that we can notice also in the new Moroccan theater. It's this interdisciplinarity. So you can it's all the time you can find not only one art in a performance. There is a video, there is a music live, there is dance and theater, and this is so interesting. That's I think it's Occidental. It's Occidental influence, but also it's a Moroccan thing, because the theater in Morocco, the first thing that we can call theater in Morocco, it was al-halqa. Al-halqa, it's a counters, and not counter, but the people say tailors. And these tailors, they use it dance, and they use music, and they use all these things. And we are going to like seeing the Occidental influence, and we are we came back also for the Moroccan heritage. So making a mix between both of them, and it's give something interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we naturally amended from one topic to another one. So Rob, would you like to carry on the theme of
Fiona has a
heritage?
question. I think Fiona has a question there first.
Sorry, I didn't. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I haven't figured out raising my hand electronically, so I just waved.
Just because we have a multiple pages, so it's difficult to see, you know. Sorry, Fiona.
Thank you, Amin, for an amazing presentation and for giving us kind of such an incredible flavour of the work. It's like I want to get on the plane to Morocco right now and come and see everything. I just wanted to ask you about how designers work in Morocco. Are designers attached to specific theatres, or is it more of commission to work in various theatres? How do designers work?
In fact, I have to explain first that we have only one school that doing the scenography in Morocco, and we are in all the Morocco we are 60 or 70 scenographers. So we are not that much, but scenography it's really has a big place in the Moroccan performances. But because of lack of money, we find all the scenographers first find solutions to make something functional, and it gives things, beautiful things, and so interesting things. So yes, but every company, she has her own scenographer, or many scenographer that work of them. It's important to have a scenographer in a performance, and what is the specific in Morocco also, that the scenographer, when we take courses in our school in the High Institute of Dramatic Art, the scenographer, it's not only the scenography, but also the lighting and the costumes, and you do everything. When you do a performance, you do everything, but you can have 3 scenographers that they can do everything, but they can all do costume or scenography or lighting.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Any more questions? If not, I'm gonna pass to Rob to carry on the themes of heritage.
Can I just make a small remark?
Yes, please.
Please, thank you. Thank you, Amin. No, yeah. One of the theaters that you showed looks exactly like a theater in Tel Aviv. I think it must be the same architect. I've got a picture of it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. If I can share the screen for a minute,
Yes.
I'll show you. Is it possible? Or I'll
Yeah,
send
sure.
you.
Yes, yes.
You can share. Just open and share then.
Yeah. Can you see it? Yeah.
Okay.
It looks exactly the same as what do you call it? Forgot. I wrote it down. Yeah, the Muhammad 5 or something. One of the first ones that you showed.
Yeah, Mohammed, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the National Theater, yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And that's our biggest, largest concert hall theater.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Thank you,
But it
Anna.
was built in which year, this one?
What?
In which year it was built?
Oh, I don't know, but I can find out.
1957. 1957.
Oh,
Oh.
really?
Well done, Rob.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop share. Yeah.
Thank you, Annette. So, Rob.
There's also a
it's up to
question in
you.
the chat. There's also a question in the chat from Nayla Brown about sound design in Morocco.
We have a people that making sound design, but it's not very developed. So for the music, it's in general it's composed and you just make it like this, or but all the time the musician is on it's live musicians, but they make it creations for the performances.
I'll just make sure. Any other questions before I press on?
I can't see any. Yeah.
Well, I don't, not being in the region, I don't have lovely pictures to show, but thanks Abby for putting this together and for all the work you've done prior to this and also going forward with SENA. I thought it was absolutely great. And for those of you who were unable to attend the 2 sessions that I was a part of over the 2 times, for 3 of our guests are here now, I think, with Umberto Danino was our very first, and we were still very much in the heart of shutdown and pandemic back then. And then we did a panel called the Mediterranean as a Mirror, and it was about reflecting the heritage of the region of the Southern European and North African region and those designers and how that influences their design. And I'm actually glad we're doing this brief as it is as well, because we really didn't get into the meat of what we wanted to talk about. We ended up just being dazzled by the work that our presenters had brought to show. And so just as to tell you about that, we had, for that session, we had 5 different panelists, and my goal for that, being a Performance Design Commission session, was not only to get was to get 2 cross sections: a cross section of the region and a cross section of different designers in the different disciplines. And so we had Georgios Kokomas from Cyprus, who is a lighting designer. We had Eufrasio Lucena Munoz from Spain, who designs scenery and lighting. Sofia Pantofaki from Greece, who designs costumes and scenery. And then our 2 representative panelists here, we had Tariq Riba, who is with us from Morocco and is a scenographer, and of course Bassam Yahout from Egypt, who is primarily a sound designer, but does many other design disciplines as well. Maybe you need to hook up with Amin Bassam and bring some sound design to Morocco and expand that. So anyway, I wanted to start this discussion because I really want to open this to the representative people in attendance who are from the region to all of this. But of course, I want to open the discussion by talking about myself. I'm teaching a world theater class right now, and I divide it by regions. Primarily by continents first. And as we discuss in class, it's a problematic thing, largely due to colonialism, where we have somewhat conveniently and horribly inconveniently divided up the world into countries and borders and things that don't always match the people living there. And I won't go too deep into that, but one of the things for this class that is my aim is I really try to show as much contemporary world theater and not as much the historical theater or the historical influences, but you can't do that. You can't ignore the history because it informs everything that comes in, and it's such a big bite to take off in trying to have students understand what's happening now, why it's happening, what came before, and all of these threads just intersect one upon the other. And I also would be remiss if I didn't mention, I like to have guests in my class for this class because I can't possibly know it all, and I don't pretend to. So Abby actually came and spoke about Brazilian theater here just a week or two ago, which they loved. So thank you again for that, Abby. And I'm always trying to cultivate who else I might ask to come speak to my class. So this is really good for that. We did cover Arabic and Islamic theater, which was part of our African section, and this region. So the North African part of this topic is really hard to put a finger on and hard to get information from. And it's really, things like this have been really great to show what is emerging out of North Africa as well. And so it's interesting to me because as we talk about the histories, we can't help but talk about the history of this region. This is really from the Western standpoint, this is the cradle of where theater and that what we know now as theater in the West and live performance came from. So we can obviously draw that to Greece and to the Romans as well. And of course, all of that influence throughout. And then we've got a little bit more shrouded traditions in the Arabic and Islamic world as well. And so this culture, what we're talking about here, SENA, is really the origin of Western culture and Western theater as we know it. So anyway, that's how I kind of frame this in my current life, because this is what I'm dealing with, and dealing with the differences between regions, the differences between what we conveniently divide up as countries, as nations, when we have crossover of people. So we can look at Egypt and see that certainly people identify as Egyptians, but they identify as many other things as well. And I'm sure the case is the same in Morocco and Tunisia and Algeria. And then even when we're looking at Southern Europe, which most Westerners are far more familiar and comfortable with, but there's things there certainly in Spain and in France, and you look at Southern Italians versus Northern Italians, where there's just this blending, this mixing of identification. So anyway, that's really just a frame for what I'm hoping will be a bit of a discussion and input from everybody here. I mean, not just our panelists, not just the people who have been on the SENA panel before, but others who are from those representative countries. It's all on the table. I'm curious if there's anyone from our SENA region. So when I say these countries, I'm talking about our the countries that qualify in the Southern European, Northern African countries, who have worked in outside of the region or even simply outside of their home country. And if they found that their approach to the work is different from somebody in the place where they're going to work, if they found that the way you approach it, the way you work on it, the way you even talk about it is different from somebody from another region, another country. I open that question to anybody to offer.
Good question. I ask people raising hands so we can see you on the first screen, or just open your mic and speak, because otherwise you need to jump from one page to another. Or you can also put the question in the chat if you prefer.
Please, Amin.
Yeah. Before to answer to this question, I want to talk about something very interesting, but because you say that the Occidental people come to this from the colonizing these countries and they bring theater, how they say theaters, like the Greek point of view, or the Italian box or the black box. For the first theater that it was built in Morocco in the 20th century, because before in Morocco there is Roman theaters. For example, in Volubilis there was a Roman theater near to Meknes, for example. But the new one, the new story in the 20th century, the first theater that it was built in, for example, in Casablanca, it was forbidden for the Moroccan. It was only for the French people, for example. And the Moroccan people, they start go to this theater like 20 years after, or 50 or 15 years after. And because they do adaptation of Molière piece, and this was because it was a French text at this moment. And this is so interesting because when Occidentals come to to the countries of the north of Africa, for example, they want just only to bring development to these countries, and they don't see what's happened really in the cultures of these countries, because in old Africa, for example, the main it's oral. It's tailors. We have images between Africa and Arab. We have poetry. We have des contes or tales. So we don't have the same approach of theater, because, for example, in a moment in Morocco theater, it was so much counting, not telling the story. There is a people playing on the stage, and one of the actors go out from the stage and they start tell what will happen. But this is what we can find it, for example, in the Shakespearean texts. There is the tailor that the opening scene who can say what is the story, and after we go up in the actions. But I think it's that's why it's not the cultural identity. It's not developed in these countries, I think, because we have we are in the middle between our identity and how we learn theater, and this is it's so interesting because sometimes gives something interesting. It's like it's very interesting because it can be interesting and dangerous in the same time, because some people they cannot identify themselves in this kind of theater. So the public, you have, so there is a moment we talk about the intellectual theater. Intellectual theater is Occidental theater that it was translated to Arabic, and there is no public for this because the people don't understand what's happened in these performances. So this I think is a subject. It's very good subject to make research. But there is, of course, there is the identity of the theater, but the influence of Occidental theater is very, very present in these countries.
Thank you. I mean, I've got a follow up here in a bit, but Fiona, what?
I was really fascinated by Armin's presentation and now this part of the conversation, because I think there's something that we don't talk about so much in these forums, but I think is very interesting, and I know Bert has experienced it as well in the theatre that he's been working with and rebuilding. This notion of theatre as a regenerator of a place that is going to kind of bring social and economic prosperity, but with that there is a danger that it loses its identity in terms of that storytelling and that history of the place and that oral tradition, and the tension of marrying those two things together in order that the community that lives and works around that area has a place that they feel is theirs. Seems to be a tension that runs alongside creating an outstanding theatre building by Zaha Hadid that becomes a kind of landmark, if you like, that elevates the place to a different status. So I was just very interested that that's the case also in Morocco, it seems.
I'm curious if there are, so again, Amin, you can address this, or Hassam or Tariq, Bassam, anybody. Do you feel that there is a movement at all for embracing regional influences, regional playwrights, regional plays, things that are culturally yours rather than Occidental, to use your word, influence on there, something to kind of reclaim the culture? Is there anything going on like that, do you think?
Yes, we can say both. We keep have influences from foreigner, from classics, and also we I think at least in Egypt we work to more concern about local playwriter and local things. Because yesterday I spent last week as a jury in amateur theater festival in Port Said, 200 kilometers away from Cairo. So 10 performances, 6 of them it's not Egyptian, the playwright. So in our advice for the future to focus more about local playwright and things. Also, we have here, we can speak about the European styles in theater, or what's the Egyptian or Arab identify, yani Arab shape or something. So from this happened from long time, and from time to time people ask for it, but still, yeah.
Can I ask, maybe that's something that belongs more, being more covered by alternative theatre in this region? And then I'm just making like
dynamite transition, Abby. Dynamite transition.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to talk about something very important, just to explain what's the idea that I had. It's yes, it's there is the identity of, for example, in Morocco, there is our identity inside. There is Moroccan authors. There is, everybody is Moroccan. So with the identity, it's here. But I'm talking about the tools, the way to do. We have a, you know, it's the way to do it. It's Occidental. We have lighting, we have a scene, we have coulisses, and it's not. This is not our identity. It's not in our historical using. So even when you do scenography and you have like we call it the Italian box. So I talk about this. I'm talking about the way to do theater in like in architecture, because we do tales in outside. We don't need, for example, lighting. We need only the sun and the people speaking and playing music, and there is not a frontal place, but the people is around this tailor. So I'm talking about this. Even if the author is Moroccan and the story is Moroccan and everything is Moroccan, but where it's comment on dit ça en anglais? Impose you a way to do theater. This is what I'm talking about, identity. But of course, yeah, of course, in all the Arabic world, we have so much writers and people who make a reflection about theater, and yes, of course.
Thank you. I mean, and it sounds to me like this is the makings of yet a further discussion later. I know I want to have it, but we're running out of time. So, and I don't want Abby's great segue to go to waste.
Okay.
Well, yeah, thank you, Rob. Thank you, everybody. But I think there's all topics we'll have a lot to discuss further, and will be amazing subjects for carrying on for the SENA event and possibly previous events and discussions. So I will pass to Bassam. We have about 14 minutes until the end of the session. On time. Bassam.
Hello.
I mean, all the teams are connected, right? So we can just pass smoothly from one topic to another one. Sorry, Bassam.
Yes. What pops, okay, concerning what pops into my mind to Rob's question about the Islamic part. We had a form of a theater that been built in Egypt that's called Wakalat al-Ghuri, which is very close in architect as the English gonglers trading fair in the English era. And because there is a space in the middle, and they always based on a storytelling. They tell about the hero, about similar like the Robin Hood style. The hero has killed in a war or traveled somewhere in parallel with the trading fair that they were saying. But the building itself is similar, totally similar to the English era, with Islamic architect or ornaments or so, and it's even built in the middle next to the citadel that represented the Islamic city, all the Islamic city. So if we can say that this is the theater, this is the only building that can be considered as a theater room. And it's open space with arches around it to sell in the shops or for animals or any kind of traders. That's it. And coming to the topic of alternative, I'd like to invite, after a year thinking about that, the alternative theater, where do you see after a year? And today we all have a time to think, had the time to think, where is theater coming? Where is scenography is going to during as an alternative era of theater? I'd like to discuss that openly with everyone, maybe to put ideas together, maybe to explore what's going on in the next era of theater. Thank you.
questions, contributions. I'm wondering if Umberto, could you give us a hint about alternative theatre in Italy? Because we're talking a lot about Northern Africa, but SENA covers Southern Europe as well. It would be good to.
Yes. Rob, I speak very good your idea. And my question for Azem, Abin, or my concept, for me, theater, this is very liturgy for the people. This is my my school, because Greek theater, Roman theater, this is for me a good tradition. And for me, theater, this is one church for civil church, no? For discussion, for education people. And I listen in Morocco. This is a very good author for theater. It's a very good influencer for France, Molière, and this is union for theater. I have modern or Britannic or Anglo-Saxon theater. I have one open space. I have traditional theater. I have a box theater, an Italian theater for separation for public and actor. This is idea, think. Is very good in Mediterranean. It's no Egypt, Morocco, ma Israel, or all Mediterranean people. For me, this is very good union for the study, for the theater, for anima. I don't know in English anima, I'll be sorry. No entertainment.
For the soul.
Me, yes. For me, theater, this is for anima. Is not
Spirit,
very.
the soul.
Yes, so it's no entertainment. And in this is concept. Want this works in Mediterranean, in Morocco, in Egypt. This is concept. I don't know. This is clear. Sorry for my bad English.
Don't excuse yourself for the language. There's very little English speakers here, so.
No, but it's a good point, is what we define as theatre.
What this is your idea, your point for theater with education, with condivision, the problem, the condivision.
Fiona?
I think the point that Bassam raised is really, really interesting in terms of where we might see theatre going now, coming out of the pandemic. And I think potentially something very interesting and radical might happen just through lack of resources and the rethinking of the use of resources, and that perhaps we return to I love the expression liturgy of the people. I thought that was extraordinary English from Umberto. That in a way we kind of perhaps create this kind of new folk tradition and this new political theatre and this poor theatre and this Brechtian theatre, because we, number one, we lack we may lack resources, and number two, this desire to gather again and actually hear theatre present alternative points of view and alternative gazes. And so though we're in a very, very tricky time at the moment, I kind of hope that that alternative is what appears, something that's perhaps more raw, that's much closer to a liturgy of the people as the sort of clarion call to theatre makers, I guess.
Thank you, Fiona. Kate, I see you raise your hand.
Okay. Hi. Yes. Goodness, this is a huge discussion.
That's the beginning. Let's go.
Yeah, it's a huge discussion. I need several glasses of wine for this one. I think, yes. I think that the 19th century imposed an awful lot on us all, and it imposed as much on England and the UK as any other country in a funny sort of way. We're still suffering from the sort of regulated activities and the sort of the way theatre going developed in the 19th century. And, you know, once you could switch the lights out, switching the lights out and sort of, you know, sitting there in silence. And up till midway through the 19th century, and actually up till now, in some theatres, in little music hall theatres up in the north of England, actually people still talk back to the people on stage. And, you know, and you don't keep quiet and the lights are left on. And there are lots of theatres, sort of populist theatres, where they are. But I think once, you know, the capitalism gets in the way and you get these huge monolithic spaces built, and there's a kind of behaviour that that is expected to go along with it, whether it's colonial or it's imposed, you know, on the people who, yeah, in whatever country, then you kind of get these sort of formulas of how these places and spaces behave. Now, we've got these great big spaces as well, and I think we need to take them back. And actually, a lot of the art centres that are being built are actually finding that there's more performance and more activities going on outside the actual theatre space and in all the nooks and crannies of the building and the landings and the open spaces and so on. And the theatre that was shown earlier, that Anat said was like one in Israel as well. And I was really interested when Rob said it was built in 1957. It actually looks a bit like the South Bank in London that was built in the early 1950s, and that is absolutely full in all its spaces of activities going on. You know, hip hop rehearsals and a bit of dance here, and somebody having a meeting there, and a conversation and a talk. And it's not just in the theatre that it's formulaic; it's happening all over. And then it does become again a bit like theatre in the marketplace. You know, of a story needing to be told or an event needing to be shared, and or fight breaking out, and it becomes much more a people space. So I think it's as much the behavior that we kind of need to change, and we need to take these places and make them our own and use them in whatever way. And that's, so I'll end very quickly, but just to say one of the reasons that found spaces, adapted spaces are so popular, certainly here, is because they have their buildings, old warehouses, factories, abattoirs, even all sorts of places that have got a previous life. And so they are a bit like a marketplace, if you like. They have another life, and we can connect to that. We can be a part of that. We're not in this designated sort of isolated spot with the lights out. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I will pass back to Bassam. Would you like to make a last comment, because we are running out of time?
Yeah.
And I know it's very inspiring discussions we have here, but that's just the beginning. And so
Sure. In my question, when I'm asking about alternative, maybe we have to define the alternative. Theater is theater. In our age era, as a designers, we've been pushed to work on Italian box designs, and late mid 90s, it was like more the revolution of design. So everyone tried to get out of unusual spaces. But in today, are we trying to alternative the scenery and the costumes to find a way to forget about the Italian box and to find the new ways different than drawing a traditional scenery, putting it into maybe a chroma style or television style. Maybe this time, maybe all of us, we have to accept that it is similar like to television to be broadcasted online. So what we're trying to say is like maybe changing our methods in case we are not able to get into the auditoriums anymore. How are we gonna present that? And that's maybe it's a new totally 21st century of scenography, of theater. Maybe theater could be in non-traditional totally. Maybe it's in the streets, maybe at the elevator, maybe at the gardens in the streets, which has existed in the 20th century. So I hope in the next few days we find a brainstorm about the alternative scenography theater. Thank you.
Thank you, Bassem. Well done. I want to thank you, all of you, for the session today. It's very fruitful conversation, lots of things to carry on discussing. It's just the beginning of the next edition of SENA. And I want to thank all the participants, the presenters, and especially two people. One is Marina Rechinova, that cannot be with us today, but she collaborated massively for all the project and for the session, and Sheng that has been really supporting all of our work. So thank you so much, and see you tomorrow.